Hello, spooky kids. Broadcasting from the crossroads of America and the heart of the great Midwest. I am Jimmy Mitchell, and this is Into the Night. From the haunted plains to the eerie small towns, we delve into the mysterious and the unexplained. Join us as we separate fact from fiction, debunking fake paranormal evidence while encouraging the exploration of genuine phenomena. This is your gateway to discerning the real from the unreal, unraveling spine-chilling stories and investigating baffling occurrences. Tonight, we have a special guest whose expertise and adventures are sure to intrigue you. He's a veteran paranormal investigator with over 30 years of experience under his belt. Known for his meticulous research and relentless pursuit of the truth, he has dedicated his life to uncovering the secrets of the unknown. You may recognize him from his work on the Harrisville Haunting, where he worked alongside Matt Benton, investigating the famous Conjuring House, or his recent revelations of the Hill House. You can also find him speaking on a panel at the Warrens Paracon at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, September 27th through the 30th. From debunking myths to documenting the unexplainable, his journey is as intriguing as the phenomena he investigates. I ask you all to please welcome Joe Vitale. How you doing, my friend?
Wow, that intro is a bit of an oversell, I think.
Oh no, bro.
For my introduction.
No, I don't. I just try to make sure I get some accurate information and let people know who they're going to see. If you think I'm doing too much, I apologize. I just like to let people know who they're about to see. I think you're great, man. I think you're great. You're somebody I respect quite a bit, and I really do appreciate you coming on for me tonight. Who do we have in the chat? We've got Booberry329, Candy7, Dawn of the Dead, Dawn Marie, Dean Bailey, Jillian Daniels, Giselle Labonte, Janice Crammon, Nocturnal Frequency Radio, Punky B, Teshi, and Troy Sweetman. They're all here to say hello to you today. Let's see here. We have we have a setup here. This is how I like to do things on this show. I ask all of the chat to save your questions for later. I'll be interviewing Joe for the next 2 hours or so, and then we'll spend our last hour taking questions and call-ins. At that time, you can choose to either put your question in the chat, or you can choose to come on the stage of the live stream and ask your question. Once it's time to take call-ins, a link for access to the stage will be pinned at the top of the chat, and you'll enter the stage, be placed into a queue until I bring you on for your question. And we will further go through those rules once it's time to do that. How's things going for you today, my friend?
It's going.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get myself set up over here. Trying to line things up so I can see. I'm used to seeing the comments over here on StreamYard. I got to pull up YouTube, and I'm trying to get.
I know I'm difficult.
Out.
I'm difficult. I like to do this way because I don't see other people doing it as such. It does kind of seem a little. What's the word? It just doesn't make sense. But I like to have the aesthetic of my live and be able to control my live through my stream deck, and I just like the way that this works. I guess the first place to start, as well as any place to start, is the beginning. So, would you share what put you on the journey of the world of paranormal investigations? What sparked that interest?
Honestly, I wanted nothing to do with the paranormal. Had a really bad experience with it, actually, and I grew up in a home that had something unpleasant there, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it at the time, though, either, but I was also learning and not realizing it because I was too busy focused on being terrified.
Right.
So, anyhow, with that, family ended up having somebody come in, get rid of it, whatever. I was with a friend of mine. This is about like a year or two later, maybe more. I'm horrible remembering dates and stuff like that. But I was with a buddy of mine, and we went to a restaurant in our city. And it was funny because this restaurant, well-known restaurant, was serving free coffee. You didn't have to buy anything.
Mhm.
You can just go there, and they'll just serve free coffee all night long. So
Nice.
as teenagers, we wanted to act like we were adults. So that's where we had went. I was with a buddy of mine, and we were sitting in a booth. I don't know why we were sitting in a booth, because it was just like him and I hanging out. He was kind of teasing me a little bit about the house, stuff like that, being haunted. Like, he wasn't like making fun of me. He was just like kind of making fun of like the whole thing. It
Mhm.
wasn't really geared at me. He just, him being weird, I guess. Behind us was a paranormal team. Now, I had no idea like paranormal teams like existed like that, because we only see them on TV.
Right.
It was always Ed and Lorraine Warren or somebody else, or it was like, these families that encountered these terrible, like spooky haunted things or whatever. And, that was always on TV.
Yeah. Unsolved mysteries and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So my buddy went to get up, go use the bathroom. Along the way, he ran into some other friends. When I started yapping with them a little bit, and a dude gets up from the booth behind us, comes over to me and starts asking me questions. Like, hey, I heard your buddy kind of teasing you about your house. Like, what's going on with that? I'm like, oh my God. But I don't know who this guy is. And he's in his 20s. I'm a teenager. I'm like 15 years old or some shit. I don't remember how old I was. All I know is it was 30 years ago. Okay. I'm 46. We'll do the math.
Right.
So, I didn't want to have I didn't want to talk about it, because it was like, you just don't talk about things like that because people think, you're crazy and stuff like that. My parents, they wanted nobody to know about it. So tried to ask, and I'm like, look, I don't want to talk about it, whatever. He said to me, he's like, well, maybe we can take you somewhere and, we could talk about it. I'm thinking to myself, who the hell is this guy? Like, this guy could like try to kidnap me or something.
Right.
Like,
I just told you I don't want to talk about it, and you're still trying
Right.
to talk about it. Yeah.
Because what they had heard piqued their interest.
Mhm.
Because basically they heard a demonic haunting is basically what they had heard. Wanted nothing to do with it. So he went back, sat down, and a week or two later, I was with my dad at a gas station. My dad was friends with the guy at the gas station, and this dude, there he is at the gas station. There he
Wow.
is. His name was Bill. The buddy that I was with, his name was Bill as well. So I seen him, he seen me. He's like, "Oh, hey!" And he walks over. I was standing out over by the garage of the gas station, because it was also a mechanic shop as well. And my dad's actually inside the gas station. And he's like, hey, starts the whole thing again, hey, we can take you somewhere, away, and, we can talk about it. We're kind of interested in your story or whatever. And I could see my dad getting ready to walk out of the gas station. I needed this guy to go because, again, my parents did not want anyone to know.
Right.
So I'm like, fine. So, writes down the phone number, and then he's gone. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then the phone call. My dad actually answered the phone. He's like, hey, there's some guy on the phone for you. I'm like, okay. And then it's Bill, remember this restaurant and gas station? It was the restaurant was Denny's. I'm like, oh no, crap. So he's like, hey, we're going to be going to a house. We've already investigated. Everything's fine. You'll be safe there. How do we get to your house? So I got to give directions. That's how old I am. We have to give directions. So I hung up the phone. I'm like, oh crap, what am I going to tell my parents? My dad's like, who is that guy? And then just, oh, that was a friend of mine's brother, his older brother. I'm going to go spend the night at his house. And his brother just wanted to know, where I live.
Sneaky, sneaky. Sneaky,
Yeah.
sneaky.
That's the only thing that I could come up with at that point in time. So
Not bad.
I went and I was scared because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to house that's haunted, because I'm carrying the thought and the feeling of what we experienced now elsewhere, even though like nothing was going on really. So really, I just sat in the kitchen with some of the people on the team and, just asking me questions about what happened and things like that. And nothing happened. I was still terrified because of what we had experienced. And then I ended up going again. And I continued to go. That whole thing went down October through November. And then the following year, February, I think it was, or something like that, is when they're like, okay, Joe, go with Bill, investigate with him in the living room. We're going to go, whatever. And I'm like, what? Because I'm used to just like sitting there.
Right. Right.
And talking. I never,
You never went looking while you were there. You're just hanging out.
Right. So, that's what I did. And It was funny because the first question I asked was, are you alive? Or something like that. I didn't know what that's. I was nervous.
Sure.
And nothing happened. And for months, when I would go with them, and these people are older than me. I'm a teenager. The youngest one besides me, mid-20s. So.
Yeah, there's definitely a comfort zone that you're taken out of in that situation. You're already doing something that you're not so sure you want to be messing with as it is. Here are people that are, I mean, that's a big age difference when you're 15, 16 years old, people in their 20, 25. So You're definitely out of your comfort zone in that situation. So I can understand being a little on edge. So
for months, we'd go to homes because that's what, we did. We went to residentials. And nothing not like sounds here, there. Now, I never did go through like any like evidence or anything like that. That was something that they did. And then like whatever they found in the house, whatever. As far as I know, nothing really. There were no demons and portals and shit like that. It was just, it was either this or could be that, whatever. But we'd also spend more time than just 1 or 2 nights at a residential. We could spend like 2 weeks just trying to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it was also amazing too because to a certain point, I started to learn. It seemed like a lot of people wanted their place to be haunted for some reason. It was really bizarre, and they wouldn't like hearing, oh, we didn't find anything, but we did find these explanations. And then they wouldn't like that. Like, It was like they wanted their place to be haunted. It was really freaking weird. But I was doing that, but I was also really focused on music as well. So that whole thing, going out and investigating and stuff like that, that kind of like slowed down a little bit, and music really started to take control. And that's where I found more joy was music.
Yeah.
So I did, did the whole like, being in a band and stuff like that thing that was more of a priority than paranormal investigating.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
And then I, then of course I'm doing it once, the whole paranormal thing once in a while, investigating things like that, just once in a while. The team actually ended up dissolving, not out of anything bad. It was just like the two people running the team, they were getting ready to retire from their jobs and they wanted to go do whatever. And that's what they did. But also having a daughter, a baby,
Sure.
that'll slow things down. And that takes priority, working
Absolutely.
and things like that. So I didn't investigate. I always had something to do with the paranormal, but I wasn't out there investigating because I had this baby, and family always comes first.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that I tell people is, if you're gonna go out there and investigate, and the person you're with, it's not something that they want to do, don't go out every weekend and investigate. You're gonna put yourself at risk of being single.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yes, because while you're out there having fun, your other half is at home, maybe even taking care of kids. They're not able to get out there and have fun with their friends or do whatever it is that they like to do. They're stuck at home. So balance is key. Balance is key.
Absolutely.
But let's see. So then, of course, we had our son. So that, kind of like, again, still involved in the paranormal in some capacity, but not going out there and investigating. A lot of it too had to do with, I didn't want to take something home with me,
Right.
and it messing with the kids.
Yeah, I thought of that
They're
myself.
They're little, and I don't want them messed with. So as the kids got a little bit older, I started slowly getting back into it. I think what really happened though was I watched fucking Ghost Hunters. So that, like, first time I was just like, oh, this shit on TV. What is this? What is this? What is this lighthouse? What the hell's going on here? And then I just watched it, and then there was like some reruns or something like that, and I'm like, God, I miss doing that, because a lot of what like Ghost Hunters was doing was pretty similar to what I was doing with that team.
Right.
And it kind of reminded me so much of that team. So then, like hooked, watching Ghost Hunters, me and my son. My son's he's a little guy, and we're just like watching Ghost Hunters and shit like that. And I really missed it. So I kind of slowly sort of got back into things. Still family priority. On and off, I would do things. It was funny because my kids were like, "Oh, we want to go ghost hunting too," and so I'd like, "All right, let's go ghost hunting in our own home." Let's shut the lights out. Let's do this. They didn't want the lights out.
Sure. I don't blame
So
them.
we would like do these little ghost hunts, with the kids at home and stuff like that. And of course, as they got older, like, all right, you want to go ghost hunt? Let's go to the cemetery. I'd take them to the cemetery. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we'd only be there for, maybe 10, 15 minutes at best, just because the kids wanted to.
Right.
But once...
That's
once
being
I
a
moved-
good dad, by the way. That's being a good dad, including your children and when they want to be, and exposing them to the stuff that you love, and hoping that they get something out of it. Whatever that is, positive or negative. Hopefully they get something out of it where they learn something, and that's awesome that you brought that to them like that. So very cool.
As the kids got older, I started slowly getting back in the swing of things and investigating residentials. I got with another team that was short-lived. I found that I just working with certain teams is I had more experience than they did, is the thing. And when you have, not saying that I know it all, not claiming that I'm an expert, but when you know better, and they don't, it's like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. Like, I can't do this. But you know, once a month or whatever. Plus, they kind of had an issue with me only going out once a month. I'm like, look, I have a family, I have kids. I can't go out every weekend and do this. Like, that's just not gonna happen.
Right. Yeah.
Once I told them that, I'm like, look, dude, I'll walk. I don't care. They calmed down, but I ended up like, yeah, I can't do this. Plus, that team too was a boyfriend-girlfriend team. And yeah, that was not fun at certain points. And that's why I'm like,
bringing what's going on at home out into the field, stuff like that. Yeah.
Not quite that.
Well, that's good.
It was more like, you know, oh, hey, you know, I'm not doing this with her anymore, so you're going to be the lead now, and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, yeah, so there's drama.
I don't want to get in the middle of that shit. That's not my problem.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I'm just here to hunt ghosts, y'all, not play Dr. Phil.
So, and that's, you know, during the time that I was in Michigan, because we had moved back to Michigan. I came back down to Tennessee, and that whole thing, that was terrible. I'm not gonna go into that whole thing, but I come back to Tennessee, and I thought I was gonna quit. Like, I'm like, you know what, I'm done. This is like, I had something fucked up happen to me, and something that turned my life upside down. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, I don't know what happened. I mean, I was down in the dumps and shit like that, going through separation, divorce, stuff like that. So I was in a horrible place. And my mom had actually passed away. And I thought to myself, you only live once. Fuck it. I'm now single. I'm free. I can do whatever the hell I want. You know, of course we have kids, but
sure,
taken care of, you know, whatever. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to go to these places that I've always wanted to go to. Did it. Went for the first time to Waverly Hills. Then I went out to Mississippi and investigated the Jefferson Davis Library, and then his old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and then all kinds of places. And I mean, just driving nonstop, and just enjoying life.
Yeah.
And a lot of it I was doing on my own. Nobody there with me, just me by myself. Going ham, just having fun.
That's pretty gutsy and cool. So during all the time that you've been doing this, I mean, you talked a little bit about what got you into it here. What do you have an experience that you think is maybe your first memorable experience paranormal in the paranormal, or anything that just sticks out to you more than others?
Probably the most, well, besides that crazy shit that happened,
right?
Which, again, I don't want to get into that too much.
Sure.
Most memorable regarding paranormal is going to be seeing, and it wasn't just me, it was witnessed by a friend of mine, Gary Fisher. Seeing a doppelganger for the first time. I always tell people, when you're in the paranormal, sometimes there are things that you don't necessarily believe in.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, that went to shit. That's a thing.
Yeah.
We were at Hales Bar Dam, and we didn't even know what happened at the time it happened. So Gary and I were walking into the tunnels, the entrance to one of the tunnels inside the dam. Up in front of us was this guy, Jeff. And Jeff took a right turn and head into a completely different building we call the break room. So Gary and I, we walk in and got our gear on this table and whatever, and on the corner of my eye I see something. I literally looked over, like, oh yeah, that's Jeff, whatever, no big deal. And it didn't register at first what I was actually seeing. Gary's on the other side of the table, and he looks over too. Whatever. And then Jeff just walks down the tunnel. Whatever. So everyone else piles in. And they're like, oh, we hear somebody down there. And they're flashing their lights down the tunnel and shit like that. And we're like, yeah, Jeff just went down there. Like, there's nobody down there. We're like, Jeff literally just went down that tunnel. Well, there was another Jeff there too as well. He's like, no, I'm right here. We're like, no, not you. The other Jeff. He's like, he's standing right out here. This all happened in like 30 seconds.
Wow.
And I don't know if Matt's in here, but Matt can tell you, you ain't running through the tunnels into a couple of other little spots in the dam, then inside the power plant of the dam or the powerhouse of the dam, and then come across the parking lot in 30 seconds. That shit ain't happening.
Right.
It's not happening.
Okay.
And then we realized what we had seen. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I don't remember seeing anything from the knees down. Like, he didn't have, like, the bottom half of his legs and feet. I'm like, I really thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, Gary, did you notice a light? He's like, yeah, like holding a blue flashlight, but kind of like up to his chest, like kind of like hitting his face. I'm like, yeah. We're like, what the hell just happened? So that was really cool. I'm glad somebody else had seen that.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because, I mean, you could have just passed that off. It just been you that, oh, maybe I didn't see that, or maybe I'm making a mistake or whatever. But when you have somebody else there that witnessed it at the same time you did, and they're able to confirm, no, this happened, Joe, that probably leads a bit more into the creepy factor.
So, I mean, you know, that was crazy.
Sure.
Let's see. Meeting Matt, unfortunately, for the first time at the Monroe house. That was actually just a funny story.
Yeah.
Because I was told, yeah, this guy, Matt Bitton, he created this app or whatever, and he's going to be here. I'm like, I don't know who that is. You know, like, you don't know who he is? I'm like, no, I have no idea who he is. And then, like, a couple hours later, here comes Matt, and he pulls up, got fucking stickers all over his damn car or some shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And then Matt gets out, and I'm thinking in my brain, who the fuck is this Zach Beggins wannabe? And literally, that was the first thing I thought. But that was, oh God. And I'll never forget, because we had no idea what he was doing in the basement. This asshole's in the basement by himself, speaking Latin. And then, like, the other two investigators, when they had seen the footage, like, oh my God, he's conjuring something. I'm like, I don't think he's conjuring anything. Speaking Latin. I don't know Latin. Like, what the fuck is he doing? It was so bizarre.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So you've been doing it for so long. Did you have anybody? Were there any influences? Are there any influences to you as far as a mentor or anything like that? Do you have anything like that?
Well, besides the two leads, I mean, there's only a couple of people that I honestly look up to in the paranormal, to be honest. One of them being Jason Haas. I also, because the guy's been at it for so damn long, John Zaffis. Those would be the two that I would look up to. I think at one point, but they were all over the place. Ed and Lorraine Warren. But I mean, we know, that whole situation or whatever. But I mean, at one point, those were some people that I would probably say that I probably did look up to at one point. But
their yarn is unraveling the Warrens.
You know, but I look at it like this: they put the paranormal in the spotlight.
That's right.
For better or worse, they put the paranormal in the spotlight. So you know, I can definitely appreciate that.
Sure. Sure. And
Mrs.
who's to
Geek
say
said-
that they? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This geek says we got so much shit for mentioning Jason Haas. You know what? If anybody has an issue with Jason Haas, so what?
Yeah.
We know because we've talked to Jason. He is a really cool guy. He's very down to earth. He's not Mr. Oh, hey, you know, look at me. You know, I'm on TV or anything like that. That guy was incredibly nice. And he actually called me, did a video call with me. Dawn, of course, she was in the video call as well with her because she was here. And we talked. We just, you know, talking.
Right. Yeah.
And he's a really good dude. You know, people can have their opinions,
Sure.
whatever. But
Someone's always got something to say about something.
Right.
What, you know, so you're not going to be able to please everybody. And as long as you are having a positive relationship with him and it still holds to your, you know, like you said, you looked up to him, and as long as that is still being fueled, I see no harm coming from that. Over the years, your approach to the paranormal has no doubt changed, or at least evolved. Can you tell me a bit about that?
I have become. I was always skeptical. I never really took too much at face value, but more and more going out there and investigating, I have become more of a skeptic, and take even more as a grain of salt. You know, when we go to, like, for the most part, when we go and we investigate like locations, we know, look, somebody's going to have a crazy story. We're not saying that and we're not even saying it's the people from the location, but you hear stories from other people about a location. Like, oh my God, I had this insane thing happen, you know, and it's like, well, cool, let's see it. Oh, we didn't record it. Damn it.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, we hear all these crazy stories from other investigators. Oh my God, it was insane. And it was really active. But the week before that, they were at another location. It was crazy active and like all that other stuff. You know, if you can't really prove, then, you know, I got to kind of take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, you know, also claiming all kinds of crazy stuff is happening every time you go out and investigate. I mean, come on. But what do they consider crazy amount of activity? Like, if I get an EVP, I'm like, huh, that was cool, but it wasn't crazy active.
Right. Let me give a shout out here real quick. Stormy Night, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Teshi, Beardo Gets Scared, how you doing, my friend? DJ, Sequoia, Investigation 13, and I think that's it. Have all been gifted memberships. You guys now have access to cool emojis in the chat. You can also have a couple of extra videos that are on my channel that you can go watch, and also take part in memberships only community posts, things like that. So welcome everybody to the membership, and thank you again to Stormy Night. Very, very cool. I appreciate that. You are an absolute legend. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, my friend. Go ahead.
No. Hey, you gotta give those shout outs, man. It's important. Yeah. I do want to say this though, real quick, you know, to Beardo and his beautiful lady, you know, they've always, you know, shouted me out and stuff like that. And I absolutely appreciate that. I really do. They're awesome. You know, Dawn and we absolutely adore them.
Yeah.
I probably drive them nuts, but I don't care.
Yeah, I enjoy Beardo's videos quite a bit. He's definitely somebody he was the first I mean, I've watched Armored Skeptic. I don't know if you know who he is, but he doesn't debunk paranormal anything like that. He's a more of a skeptic in many aspects. So he's not really, over in this community. But the first person in the community that I went to go see was Beardo, because somebody had come to me and said, "Hey, I think you two would get along. You should go check this guy out." So they were right. I started watching his videos and became quite fond of them. So it's wonderful to see that they're in my chat and here watching you. And I'm hoping that this show, I'm trying to do this every week. I'd like to get more people on here and keep it going. So very cool that they're here. So yeah, your approach to paranormal investigations. So you've been talking about how, it seems to me that you're more skeptical, and I'm the same way, more skeptical of people than you are ghosts. Is that safe to say?
Right, but I'm also very skeptical of a lot of claims of hauntings, and it's
Sure.
not to say that anybody's lying, though, but people are capable of lying. And Dawn, it's funny having Dawn with me and going to these places. Dawn used to go with group event type of things where they get a bunch of people into a location and they do these investigations, and they're using cell phone apps and these other things, and ooh, wow, this went off, oh my god, and then
Right.
it's an experience kind of thing. But investigating with me, it's wow, nothing happened. So I think with her, she got to see both sides of things, and how investigating is really done. But I'm not saying the way I do it is the correct way and the way it should be done.
Sure.
But
Sure.
my approach has always been this. Anytime I go to a place that's supposed to be haunted, it's not haunted. I'm walking in, it's not haunted. There are other things going on, and that's how I go about it. If a place is haunted in some way, shape, or form, it'll let me know. But even then, you can't prove paranormal exists anyways. You can't prove it's an actual thing. But I don't try to manipulate the environment by using stupid gadgets. Let's throw some more EMF out there. Let's use these EMF pumps and crap like that. Because a lot of these hauntings happen under natural environmental conditions. Why try to amplify the conditions and then get false positives?
Right.
And besides that, freaking EMF pumps are only good up to maybe 12 inches away anyways. After that, you're not getting anything. So if a ghost actually needs EMF for energy, which I don't really buy into, then it literally has to go through
Right.
that device to get anything from it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just if that's true, a lot of these places we go to, they have fuse boxes, they have power. Why don't they stick their finger in a light socket? Or why don't they just hang out by the fuse box? Because you're gonna get EMF off the fuse box.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense to me. There's no evidence. Well, there's no evidence of anything paranormal anyways, but there's nothing to really support that. Same thing with, when I investigate Hales Bar Dam. They say, large flowing bodies of water generates this energy, and, that's why these places near water are more active. And it's spend 2 years investigating Hales. I was there almost every week.
Right.
99% of the time, nothing. And then sometimes, we get like the doppelganger thing or some other things. I don't believe that large bodies of water help fuel paranormal activity.
Right.
I think what it really comes down to is when we've had wars in our country, they had to be near a water source. They used it for navigation.
Right.
You're near water, you have food, you have a water supply.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the battles happened near water.
Right.
So it just may be that
there's a lot of myths. There's a lot of myths, right, surrounding that. I was talking about this today, that the whole 3 a.m. thing. That's the time that they're most active. It's like, who says?
Right.
What significance does that have? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't believe in it. Like a ghost is like, oh, is it 3 a.m. yet?
Yeah.
All right,
time to clock in, right?
I just can't get behind a lot of that stuff. There, like you said, there's no evidence to support any of it, but I don't know, man. People love their myths and they love their stories. I'm personally, I'm like you. It's like, let's just be done with that and focus on what we're here to do, rather than what everybody else says. So you can't really take what everybody else says, to heart. I don't know. It just seems to me that people are trying too hard when it comes to, and these myths make it more sexy, or they make it more digestible somehow. And
right.
Also, I guess Beardo shouted me out, so thank you for that so very much. I appreciate that. What do you think? What personal traits do you think are essential for being a successful paranormal investigator, if there is such a thing?
I think the most important tool to have, or trait, whatever you want to call it, is common sense. It really is common sense. When you hear a sound, half the time when I hear a sound and it's far away, I don't even bother, because I'm not going to find the source of the sound anyways. But depending on how close it is, go check it out. Go find out what's going on. I mean, Dawn and I, when we were at the Monroe House, and we have investigated the Monroe House, I've been like since 2017, I believe. First time I went there, and have gone there many, many, many times. When you go to a location many times, you get to know that location. You get to know its flaws and its quirks and things like that. So one of the things that I've noticed is when you walk on a certain spot, it makes the cabinet doors bounce, and it sounds like a knocking sound if you're kind of far away from it.
Right.
The refrigerator has a sound, and it sounds like something's knocking. Common sense. You can have all the gear you want, all the expensive stuff. At the end of the day, they're not going to prove anything. You can't validate any of it. And debunking.
Yeah.
My God. Debunking is important. Whether it be stories that you hear, or like history, or hearing something, maybe even seeing something, debunking is important. We got a piece of footage from the Monroe House, and it looked weird because it looked like there was this weird light anomaly, and it looked like it split in two, and things like that. And then I was actually going to have Kenny Biddle look at it, which he did. The more I looked at it, the more I realized what was going on. I mean, it was very convincing, because we're like, what the hell's going on here?
Right.
Once I actually got like the footage from Matt, and I started looking, I'm like, oh shit, this is not paranormal. This is actually a reflection that's hitting the floor. And going through the here's what's going on kind of thing, and then really started, the more I looked, the more I started to notice certain things. I'm like, that's a reflection. So of course, I told Matt, here's what's going on here, and he's like, and that's the other thing too. I mean, seeing some of the footage that was sent to us for the documentary, I'm like, gravity. I'm not going to be specific on what we were seeing, but I'm just kind of like, gravity, hello.
Right.
That's a thing that happens.
It sure is.
Pareidolia, get
Right.
a picture of something and they're like, oh, it looks like somebody's in there. Look. And it's like, pareidolia.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, maintaining that level of integrity and not being afraid to say that, that's, I think that is a key, not only because we all want to experience something, because that's what we're doing. We're going out there trying to find something, but, fooling yourself or lying to yourself about what you're finding, that completely defeats the purpose.
I want the truth. Look, when with like the rocking chair with the Harrisville haunting, I've always said something happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a freaking ghost. I don't know. 4 years later, somebody comes up with what happened. It was debunked. And I'm like, well, Matt and I, we're like, cool. Somebody found the answer. This is what happened. This wasn't paranormal. And we agree with that. So just because we can't figure out something, like we can't debunk something, doesn't make it paranormal. Somebody else may have an answer. Somebody may have experienced something like that. I mean, there's always smarter people out there that can figure things out.
Yeah, and just because it can't be debunked right now doesn't mean it can't be debunked.
And even I tried to place the chair in a way that guy had said before we even before it was even debunked, and I could not get the chair right. Like, it just too many things going on. I was in a hurry, though, to be fair. So, I mean, I couldn't get it in the position that it was in. But again, just because I wasn't able to do it doesn't mean that's not what happened.
Right.
I just couldn't get it positioned in such a way, or the right way. But, common sense. My God, common sense.
Yeah. Can you think or share on a particularly challenging investigation and how you overcame the obstacles?
Some of the most Hales, Waverly Hills, and the Conjuring House are pretty challenging because those locations can be loud. When you go to Hales, it's a marina, so you have all kinds of outside noises going on. You have marine radios being used, and that can set things up. And I don't rely on gear anyways, but if I'm investigating with others who are using it, then somebody's using the marine radios, that could set off some of the equipment. Noise pollution, Waverly Hills, loud. In fact, the first time I went there, I was like, holy shit, you can hear what's going on in the city.
Right.
The airport's nearby, sirens constantly, dogs barking. I'm like, how the hell can anybody hey, I got an EVP from Waverly Hills. And it's like, are you sure? Because that place is pretty fucking noisy.
Right.
On top of that, if you're on one end of the hospital and somebody's on the other end, still going to hear one another if you're loud enough.
Right. It's the way that place is built. Sound will travel. Yeah. People don't think about those kinds of things while they're in the moment either.
Right. And then although most of the content out there on the Conjuring House doesn't exactly highlight it, but the Conjuring House that place is loud. A lot of banging sounds, which we were able to figure out what was going on with some of the banging stuff. But man, you breathe and the floor just creaks. It's loud, and so that it's a challenge because you're trying to be quiet, but if you're standing, you're also shifting your weight a little bit, to give a leg a break or a knee a break or whatever. So your body, constantly shifting. Just even shifting.
Right.
The floor is really loud. So really, those two places have been, or those three places have been the most challenging because, well, all sorts of reasons.
Right.
Sound pollution, and then a house being really loud, and you can't really trust what you get when you go and review.
Right.
Because it could be anything. You could be hearing anything.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I find, I mean, of course, you've got all this outside influence going on, but I prefer to work with just one other person if I'm going to do it. That takes down a bit of the pollution that's possible. But you're never going to get away from pollution completely, are you?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And for me, less is more.
Right. Absolutely.
When we filmed Evil on Earth, we had to take turns investigating. There was way too many of us inside the Monroe house. There really was. So we had to take turns to investigate.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a smart way to go about it. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's Matt Benton's new project that you were involved in. But let's go back to the first project with Matt Benton. That
our project.
Yes, the Harrisville haunting.
Yeah.
How did you become involved in that?
Well, I got a phone call. I was on the phone with somebody, and I got a message from this guy named Joe, and he was telling me that he was investigating the Conjuring house and I'm like, are you sure you got the right house? I was questioning that. I'm like, because as far as I know, you can't investigate that place. And then he name dropped people that I've known for a long time, and that's Keith and Carl Johnson. I don't know them, heard of, I should say. And I'm like, if that's true, I want to film there. And then not even 5 minutes later, Matt's calling. Guess what I found out? I hate guessing games. And I was going to tell him anyways. Hey, the Conjuring house available.
Right.
To investigate now. But he's like, people can investigate the Conjuring house. I'm like, well, I want to film it. He's like, yeah, me too. So that's basically how that happened, except he wanted to use people from his team, which none of them were able to do that. So we had to figure out who we wanted to go with us. So
yeah, that's cool. And I enjoyed that I actually watched that documentary well before I had ever heard of any of you. And I noticed right away, I was like, these guys don't seem to be your typical, sensationalizing ghost hunters. They're looking for reasons why this isn't paranormal, whatever the event was. They're looking for reasons why it wasn't paranormal. They weren't just jumping onto it's a ghost, it's demons, bro, dude. They weren't doing that. Not to talk about you guys if you aren't here, but that was my perspective. And I found it very interesting. And then to be sitting here with you and being like, wow, this is awesome because I've seen it. When you're filming that documentary, what did you find to be again, I like asking challenges and how you overcame them. Obviously you've got floors creaking and stuff like that, but was there anything particularly challenging about that investigation?
Trying to keep things recording, because there were things that had happened when we weren't recording. Also, the other challenge was we did hear disembodied voices, and it was not picked up very well, and they were left out of the documentary. We were doing an interview, and Matt and I both heard a female, and we're like, what the hell? Well, I heard something at first. I'm like, wait a minute. I was thinking about it, and then it happened again, and Matt's like, Matt heard it. It was picked up, but the problem was it was too low. It wouldn't translate well over TV, because we have to remember what may sound good to us when we're editing or doing whatever may not translate well on other people's setup.
Right.
So we left that out. When we went back to the Conjuring house, I was doing some B-roll footage, and Matt comes stomping in, and he's like, "Oh, they got another Ouija board." And then there was, we captured an EVP on my freaking phone, like the video, and we couldn't put that in there because it was too low. Even when we were in the library and we were talking to everyone during the day, there was a disembodied sound or voice or whatever. We didn't put it in there because, again, it wouldn't come out right.
Right.
So I mean that was definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I've experienced that. I'm glad you brought that up too, because there were plenty of things that I caught and was like, I can't use this because it's questionable. It's not easily audible. It could, and being able to filter those things, that's a challenge, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even with my own content on my channel, like they're like, "Oh, I heard that," but for reasons it just our stuff didn't pick it up. One of the things that drives me nuts, we won't mention this guy's name, but a lot of investigators, we use like these here. They don't pick up sounds very well in the distance, or they use shotgun mics. Shotgun mics are directional, and a lot of times we do hear things. The problem is that these don't pick them up, or the shotgun mic don't pick them up because we're not pointed in the right direction, or it's just not loud enough. And I mean, that has happened. I mean, I'm working on something right now where something went off. You can't really hear it. So then I have to pull audio from another camera so people can hear it, because I know if I leave it the way it is and nobody can hear it, somebody's going to be like, "Well, I didn't hear anything." And I got this laptop that's got this crap in it that does all this magical stuff. It's fake. That kind of thing. Hint, hint.
Magical laptops.
Right. So
I need me one of those.
And that, that's something, to think about.
Yeah.
So like, whether it comes from, one of those fake channels, entertainment channels, or real, that is a thing that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I know the side guy got to experience something that seems to happen quite a bit to all of us. Something happens and nobody's recording. The side guy, it was hilarious. We were at the prison, and I don't know, they heard something happened. I wasn't there to witness whatever it was. I walked up just shortly after it happened, and the side guy's like, and of course nobody was recording, and I give people shit for this. Like, yep.
Yeah, it's a taste of your own medicine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're, can you walk us through what your typical process when you're investigating a new paranormal case, or is there such a thing?
Well, I don't do residentials anymore because I had a very bad experience. The last one I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to stay away from them. And the bad experience was that the lady was hitting on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And I
remember
had
you
to
telling
walk
me about
away.
that.
I'm like, nope, this is not happening. I'm out. Like I said, I walk into it as if the place is not haunted. I will listen to the claims, and everything like that, and then I'll just kind of. Usually, I don't show this. I kind of have now, but I kind of go through and look at things like looking for like strings or other like natural reasons as to why something may have happened. So I do spend time doing that. That is something like we were hearing rumors that the Hill House, they had things rigged and this is happening and that's happening and stuff like that. I went and I was looking for speakers in the walls. I was looking for anything that was rigged, and there's no speakers in the wall. There are night items that are rigged.
Okay.
And it's funny though because sometimes I will find string in other locations.
Okay.
I'm like, so who was here before us?
Uh-huh,
And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then that happened. And this is where it happened. Conveniently, where I found the string. In fact, somebody had left a spool of thread at a location, and I found it. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And
Wow.
I'm like, hey, you forgot something. I won't say who that
Sure,
was, but
sure. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
No, I do go through and I try to look to see for like the obvious stuff, like, oh, this door shuts by itself. Well, here's why.
Right.
It takes time, builds momentum, then it shuts. That was a thing at another location. Actually, Post Town, there's a door. When you open it and you walk away, it takes like 30 seconds to like a minute for the door to actually swing close. And then, people are like, oh my God, it goes close that door. But it was actually the owner who pointed that out.
Yeah.
So.
But not only do you go through and look for obvious evidence of tampering, but you also go in with a clean slate, as in you don't know the history of the place. Isn't that accurate?
Yeah. It gets hard to do because it's all like a lot of places, they're all over the place, and you kind of hear about the history from other people. I don't want to know, and sometimes I regret that because then I end up investigating something that never happened, or that person actually did not exist, and things like that. So I end up wasting my time. Hey, so-and-so, if you're here, why did you do that? I'm blaming absolutely nobody for something that never happened.
Right.
Well, I'm not blaming. I'm just questioning them with that. Going in blind has its advantages and disadvantages. And I go there, whatever happens, and then we'll try to connect the dots. So if we get anything, we'll try to connect the dots, see what's going on here. And when I say connect the dots, I don't mean like, we heard this sound. Ooh, right. Well, this sound could be connected to that person or whatever. No, we just kind of connect the dots with, okay, so we got this name. We asked for a name. We got this name. let's go see if we can find this person who had something to do with this location. Or an event had happened. All right, let's double check and make sure that this event did happen at this location. Because a lot of times we do find things that it's like, well, this person was here and they were bad. And then they died here. And then we find that person and they walked past the fucking building, never had anything to do with the building. And then they flew the other side of the world, and that's where they died.
Right.
It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, they're spinning a yarn. Well, how do you ensure that those investigations remain objective and credible?
Because I'm an asshole, and I don't take things at face value.
Huh. Very good answer. Very good answer.
And like I said, most of the time, like I said, you watch like a lot of these other channels go to some of these locations that I've gone to, or Don and I have gone to. Look at the difference. It's night and day.
Right.
Like I said, I've been to some of these locations multiple times that others have. I've never, ever experienced anything like that. And I've never been told these stories that are being thrown out there. Octagon Hall magically has demons, according to a few investigators. And the people who run that place are like, no, that's not true. And that wasn't our experience.
Right.
Like, in no way, shape, or form did I ever was like, oh, there's a demon here.
Yeah.
Because there isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine demons aren't as rambunctious as the YouTubers would like you to believe.
I mean, so there's like there's kind of like a misconception about that whole thing with demonic hauntings. We could have very well have interacted with something demonic, and we may never know it because the way it presents itself. But there's also the aspect we have to look at that comes to play is belief. All right, so you have people who do believe that demonic entities are real, but within that you have people who believe that demonic entities, they can just do whatever they want at any given time. Then you have those who believe that the only way a demonic entity can do something to you is if it's allowed to. And then you have the hierarchy kind of structure going on, mostly with like the Catholic Church, where they will say, and it's demonology stuff too. And I'm not a demonologist, just study the shit. Like, I am not a demonologist. But if somebody's going to experience something demonic, usually there's a reason, and it may not even have anything to do with that particular person, but somebody else. Kind of a challenging thing. So we'll talk a little batshit crazy here, but it is believed the whole hierarchy thing when it comes to possession or demonic hauntings is permission.
Right.
Again, I'm not spitting facts. This sounds like crazy, like batshit crazy stuff, but permission, like God saying,
right,
go do this.
Yes.
Because this person needs a lesson.
Right.
And then, of course, whatever happens to that person, happens, whatever. But there's also to that belief where it seems like demonic entities target certain individuals. I mean, I've been, again, the Monroe House. I do think that there is something demonic there. And it's very picky. There have been a lot of things that have gone on in that house. And not everyone's going to, when anybody goes into a demonic haunting, 99% of them are not going to experience that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, well, I don't know if this is true, but my theory on that is if it's a demon, it probably doesn't want you to know it exists. Right.
They again, not spitting facts, all based on belief,
sure,
guys.
Sure. Sure.
It's better for them to work in the background and people not to believe in them
Exactly.
than to be up front in your face and believe in them.
Right.
We
Right.
have to, we can't prove any of that stuff exists. We can't prove ghosts exist or anything like that. And I think the reason for that is because if we do find out that it does exist, the religious aspect would be thrown in a complete fuckery, right? Now you have people like, oh my god, this shit's real, God's real, or whoever is real,
Right.
a god or gods, whatever, they're real. Well, now you don't have faith, you just now believe. And belief and faith are completely different things anyways.
Totally.
You can believe in something, whatever, but having faith is trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that shit sounds batshit crazy.
Well, not to me, it doesn't. I know that not everybody gets on board with theology like that, but
I like Jake Arts. Oh my god, that's a hell of a name to spit out there. And he was like, I'm pretty sure if the devil was standing right behind me, he'd do all these horrible. He's something to that effect. I don't remember. And I'm like, no, actually, if you really look at it, Satan would be your best friend, leading you into a world of shit.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy, do that. I support you.
Yeah. Deceit.
Yep.
Deceit. Let's touch a bit on your what you're working on now. I got a fly over here pestering me. Apologize. The Hill House. What can you talk about with me when it comes to the Hill House?
We've heard all the
Excuse me.
We've heard a lot of claims, coming out of there, all the paranormal claims, and we were very interested, especially, and I didn't know about this until about the time we went down there. But this particular entity that calls itself Toby, but they're saying that it's this demonic entity, Osmodius, goes by many different names. Sometimes I like to call him Peckerhead, Dickhead, whatever. So I've done a lot of research on that particular entity, and it's like, oh, this ought to be interesting. But going down there too, I was hearing, I should say, from a lot of other investigators, some negative things and being suspicious of the place. So it was kind of like this mix of okay, this is going to be really cool, but oh man, we have a ton of investigators like, hey, this shit over here and whatever. So the owners, they were really nice. They were really good to us. The house, I felt comfortable in the house. There were certain times where I'm like, something's going on here. Something's off. I mean, our first night there was 1, 2, 3, 4 weird things that have happened, all audible. No, 4 things. They were all audible. We didn't actually see it. We kind of caught something on video, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of weird. And knowing what I know now, I wish I would have investigated it a lot different than I did. So the first night was the most active for us. The second night, 2 people had some experiences. The third night was dead, nothing. I did spend my time going around the house during the day, looking at certain things, um, looking for certain things, but no, yeah, like knowing what I know now, I would have come at it differently. I tried to get this demonic entity to come at me. Like, I really tried. I tried other tactics as well. Like, I used to take this stuff out of my videos, so I didn't want people to get pissed off at me. But I'm kind of leaving it in now, where I'll shit talk. Right? Yeah. Let's see what happens. We did it this way. Let's try to shit talk. Okay. Shit talking may not work. Sometimes it does work. Because, throwing something out there, negative or something, let's see what, how we can get a reaction. Or then we'll sit around, have fun, and joke around and stuff like that. Sometimes, you can get lucky and things, can happen. Or you go about it as, just having a conversation, ignoring everything. And if something happens, ignore it. Fuck it. Ignore it. Continue on with whatever conversation that's being had. And let's see if anything can ramp up. If we're ignoring it and it wants to be known that it's there, we're ignoring it, maybe it'll progressively get noisier, or something will happen.
Sure.
But no, I will say the first night when I went to go to bed, I will say honestly, the room that Dawn and I were in, something did not feel right. And one of the corner of the room looked really dark. I don't know why, but it looked really dark. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. Maybe it was just like having a moment. I don't know. So I'm like, nope, I'm not putting up with this shit.
Right.
Got out of the bed, went and grabbed the rosary, grabbed another blessed item, put both of those on 2 different doors, and 5 minutes later, poof, I was done. Sleeping like a baby. And we all slept good there. We were told that, don't go to sleep there because that's when they really mess with you, and like nothing.
Yeah. Real quick here, Rob Linklater, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. MAD Paranormal Investigations, Tales Told in the Dark, Chesadoodle, Rose, and Ruby Moon. You all now have access to members-only perks like emojis in the chat and a couple of extra videos that you can now go check out. Sorry about that. Yeah, I believe my next project will probably be at the Monroe House. And I'm taking what you're saying seriously. You're saying that you believe there's something there that could be potentially strong.
Right.
And as somebody that's going in there, which I haven't orchestrated anything yet, but it's definitely on my to-do list, I think. For somebody like me who's going in there, what would you tell me?
Likely nothing is going to happen, but just get acquainted with the house, because the house does make quite a bit of noise. And just go in there and just investigate it. I mean, we've tried many different things to get things riled up in the house, and well, we did one. I'm not even gonna say what it was. We look like a bunch of fucking assholes, but yeah, we tried something just to see if we could piss off whatever was there. Which, yeah, like I said, we ended up looking like assholes. Just try different things. Come at it in a fun, loving way. If that doesn't work, try to come at it, in more of a negative way. Like, it helps to have somebody there, but talk shit about somebody. I mean it. Like, but don't mean it, you know?
Sure.
Just inform that person, hey, this is what we did and this is why, you know, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Female, bring a female with you because females tend to be a target at that location.
So bring bait.
Well, I mean, you know, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm just having fun. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll remember those things because it's definitely on my to-do list.
Also keep in mind that there are pigeons that get into the wall.
Okay.
And they make scratching noises. I would probably put, if you have multiple digital recorders, record on them all at the same time. Leave one outside. Put one in the basement. Put one like somewhere center of the first floor, and then one just like in the kitchen of the second floor. So that way, if you think you caught an EVP, you can go back and you can listen to all of that audio because they'll be really close lined up. It may have been something from the outside because it seems like there is outside noise that comes into the house. So to be sure, definitely have a digital recorder outside of the house so it can pick up all the outside noises if you can.
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do the next time I go there.
Glenda's asking if this is Christmas Tree playing. I know you can't hear it, but I don't believe so. I wondered that myself briefly. No, it's not. In your career, what's the most compelling piece of evidence you think you've ever captured?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a career, but I think one of the most interesting things that I've seen, besides, well, you said captured, Dawn's hair at Octagon Hall, it really looked like something put their fingers through Dawn's hair and lifted it up. It really looks like it. Unfortunately, though, the footage is just, it's not that great because it came from their security camera, which they took their phone and recorded like the screen. That was pretty damn compelling.
Yeah.
I would say things like people getting scratched because we've captured it. The problem is that we capture that after it's already happened. We didn't see like what had actually like we didn't see when exactly that happened, and there may be a good explanation as to why people get those kind of marks anyways on their body.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that does happen, right? Something that can be.
I could literally right now, if I wanted to, because you see a lot of YouTubers get it. I could use this, or I could use, where did it go?
Trusty guitar pick?
Yep. It doesn't have to be sharp at all. In fact, it should be a smooth object. Insert jokes in there, guys. Where the hell is my guitar pick?
Maybe it's by your guitar.
I swear to God, guitar picks are paranormal.
Yeah, right. They just get up and walk away, don't they? Like pins or lighters.
You drop a guitar pick and it disappears, and then it's like someplace completely different. And like, oh the hell! I dropped it right here. How did it end up down the fucking road? What the hell? I mean, I could literally. I'll just use this, but all I have to do. And then all I got to do is wait. Oh, you guys can't really see that. All I got to do is wait.
For those listening,
I'll have a paranormal scratch.
for those listening, he's taking a paper clip and rubbing it on his arm. I can already see it there.
So you can see it forming.
Yeah.
And then,
that didn't take much. And of course, that wasn't a sharp object either. Like you said, it was a smooth object.
So it can be done.
Right.
So I'll do that, and then I'll do another one. So it certainly can be done without breaking the skin.
Right.
And that's what people consider, well, it didn't break the skin, so obviously it's got to be paranormal, but you can start to see them.
Yeah.
See them form.
Yeah. Yeah, tricky people out there. I mean, it's unfortunate you run into that kind of thing. And it makes your job a bit more difficult, doesn't it? When you have people like that doing what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. How do you handle that, or how does that affect you?
When people fake stuff, I mean, it makes us look silly. You see all this stuff. Oh, got scratched by a demon, and all the crazy stuff. That literally makes all of us look fucking stupid. It really does.
Yeah.
And then nobody wants to, anyone that actually like in the scientific community, they won't take us seriously because they see that, and they see a lot of it. They're like, oh God, and I don't blame them, and I understand where they're coming from.
Sure.
Because even I'm watching it, and I'm like, fuck, this makes me look stupid. I feel like I'm doing something that is just dumb. Because there's like, how do you take that seriously?
Yeah.
I found my guitar pick, by the way.
Oh, good.
It's on the floor.
Yeah, that's really what bothers me, because when you have people like yourself who have experienced something very real and it affected you emotionally, it affected your family, and then it grabs your curiosity, and therefore you want to know more about it. When there's someone like yourself who is in it for what I feel are the right reasons, and then you have these people who come in and they stamp all that out because of their lack of integrity or their lack of ever even experiencing anything, and to them it could probably all just be a joke and it's all just entertainment. I don't stand for that kind of thing. So
then you have people who, they're not faking it, except everything that they hear, and every time their devices go off, it's a freaking ghost.
Right.
Ooh. And that's ridiculous too. Yeah. And nobody's actually been taught how to like investigate and how to go about doing things. They're like, I saw it on TV. I saw it on YouTube. I can do that. And then go. And it becomes all cookie cutter. And then you have these kids that are watching it, and then they get to a point where they're old enough to go off and do the same damn thing, and it's they're copy paste, and it just doesn't help.
It sure doesn't. I've witnessed that. People that I like, some people that I like that are I watch some of the stuff that they're doing, like people that I know personally. And it's like, I don't think you're using logic or critical thinking. And then when you bring it to them and say, listen, this might be something that you may have made a mistake on, they get angry. And that's too bad too. That's too bad too, because people, I think you would do better if you remain open-minded and seriously look at yourself from a third person perspective. Excuse me, that you may take whatever it is that you're doing quite seriously, but when everything is a ghost and everything is a demon or whatever, your credibility goes through the floor at that point. and it's too bad because these people may have good intentions and they may be having fun and it might be a good time, but when it really comes down to it, is your reputation being tarnished worth going ahead and putting that evidence out there for, you know? And again, it comes back to integrity.
Yeah, like, you know, I have pointed out to people, hey, you know, the reason why this went off is because, and pointed out, and it's like, no, that's not why. And I'm like, no, that's literally why.
Right.
Like,
here, I'll do it in front of you and show you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people who post photos of like orbs. Look, it's an orb. I caught it. I'm like, no, that's not. Or it could be anything. And I'm like, look, you know, there's an explanation for this. Explain it. Even recreate it. Well, you're not there. You can't sit there and tell me it's not haunted. Like, I didn't say it wasn't haunted. I'm simply saying what you captured isn't paranormal.
Right.
And I've seen this. I won't name this one. Don will know what I'm talking about. And when we mentioned memorable moments in investigating too, I meant to throw out there too the proposal at the Conjuring house.
Yeah.
So a event thing, you know, they go to these places, they charge people a lot of money and pile a bunch of people into a location. You know, they're posting photos or videos and like, oh, look, guys, this happened at our event. Make sure you get tickets to our next event. You know, you never know. Whatever. Taking the selfie, which I don't know why she, like, all she had to do is turn the damn thing around or whatever. Or maybe that's what it was. So she was taking a selfie and behind her was a mirror. And she got like this face in the mirror. And I'm like, well, that's because the reflection of the phone was being picked up by the mirror behind her. So you're seeing her face, except it's distorted. It looks weird, but that's not paranormal. That's your face, lady.
Right.
You know, I see stuff like that. I've seen videos like, oh, we captured a shadow person. Like, no, that's not what happened.
Right.
That's a person. The problem is that when we're investigating, we can't keep track of, and we don't remember, you know, where everyone was at a certain point in time. And then when you go back, watch the video, because of, you know, lighting or maybe some other conditions, it's misidentified.
Right. Yeah. That I'm running into that myself. I just captured something or noticed something last night, and it appears to be a shadow that I didn't catch before. I didn't notice it was there. My friend Luke and I were both going through footage, and there's this shadow. And of course, because it's in the house that it's in, I have to remain, I mean, I should remain anyway, but I remain extremely skeptical of it. But my friend is like, for him, it was a big deal. And you know, when it comes down to it, I just don't know what that was. And I think when you're in those situations, if you want to present it, it's important to kind of, you know, leave it, the word escapes me, but kind of leave it in the air. Not so much, I mean, you want to leave it up to the viewer too, but just kind of ambiguous, you know, a bit ambiguous. You know, we don't know. We just don't know. And that's the, I think that's part of the fun and the thrill. But yeah, you have to remain skeptical, even of your own findings. I think that's extremely important to do.
I mean, if people think that I may be harsh on debunking other people's stuff, it's even worse for me, because I really, like, I want to know, and I really scrutinize my own stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to be, man. That's the way to be. I think that, again, I think it speaks volumes about you personally when you're doing that, because you're not just gonna grab whatever and sensationalize it and blow it up into something that it just isn't, or potentially isn't. What about locations or cases that kind of stand out to you as maybe the most mysterious or unexplainable? Do you have anything like that for us?
Hales, Hales and the Monroe House. There's like the Monroe House. I mean, like I said, I believe that there is something demonic there. I know there are people who don't like believe in like that sort of thing, and that's fine. But there's something there, and I really like find it interesting, and it does seem to be a very complex thing. Trying to figure out what is its goal. Why? I mean, like, I don't believe that any demonic entities are stuck in a location,
Right.
and I don't believe that.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Right. So what is its purpose of being there? Because we have audio of somebody who, it sounds like a partial sort of possession to a certain extent. Was more of a I would say it was more of a oppression type of thing that happened to this person. But even then, it only lasted so long, and that was it. Like, what is it waiting for?
Yeah.
What is its purpose for being there? It's not trapped there.
Right.
And then with Hales, there's so much that, like I said, 99% of the time that I'm there, nothing happens. But when things do happen, it's pretty wild, to be honest. Excuse me, and I gotta adjust this light.
Sure.
There have been, there've been a lot of people who have died building hills, and
Wow.
even after, a lot of bad things have happened there. Now, it was believed that there was a curse put on the land, and that's just nonsense. Natives would not curse their own land.
Yeah.
Just not something that they would do, because there may be hopes of getting that back.
Right.
But the story was taken out of context anyways. But with Hales, I mean, I've seen shadow people. I have heard disembodied voices. We have seen, not literally before our eyes, but kind of like after the fact, people getting these scratches. There's a photo of a woman whose hair was literally like, and it wasn't like they were taking the picture because it was happening. It was just like, oh, I'm going to take a picture. They took a picture. This woman's hair was raised up.
Wow.
And for me, I find it really interesting, because there's just a mix of all kinds of. Then on top of that, it seems like the activity is different during the winter than the summer.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And I find that interesting. There is the belief among a lot of investigators that, depending on the time of year, summer versus winter, that, a place might be more active during the cold season, or could be more active during the summer. But unfortunately, the place, nobody can investigate it anymore. They turned it into a distillery. there's just a lot of things, and on top of that, I can easily disprove the belief that water, large body of water, and quartz stones, because the place is made, but the place is built on shell. That's one of the reasons why it went out of operation to begin with, because the whole thing was just sinking. It was kind of caving in on itself. So everything about that place, when you look at it, you investigate it, debunks the thought that natural elements, like I was mentioning, the flowing water and things like that, it's not exactly, it doesn't hold up.
Right.
And if that were to be true, it would probably be more likely that salt water would be more plausible than fresh water anyways. But like I said, you look at the wars that have happened in this country, look where they happen, look for large bodies of water. Just that's where these wars took place. That's where many people died, and that's probably the likely reason why it seems more active. You got 1,000 people who died, and within a small area, yeah, the chances of a place being more haunted and more active are probably going to be a lot higher than anywhere else.
Sure. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I had never thought about that before, and that's one of the reasons why I love doing these interviews. That bodies of water was the main source of transportation. Get people their weapons, get people their clothes, get people their food. You're doing it by a river. That's really a very smart observation. So yeah, that's I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I never really put much stock into the idea that water causes anything. Again, these myths. I don't think anybody knows what they're talking about when it comes to any of that. But that's really that's a debunk. We'll just call that a debunk. That's exactly what that is. That's really smart and very insightful. Let's switch gears a bit. So you're a musician. You mentioned that earlier. Music kind of took over your life during the beginnings of this. What you got any projects going on right now musically?
Just doing things with Crow. Although we haven't really done much of anything. I've been busy doing a bunch of other things. We have ideas.
Yeah.
We have ideas. We were working on a remake of the song Selfish, and something went horrifically wrong with my computer.
Oof.
And I lost everything that I had recorded.
Oof.
So it's like, I got to do that over again, apparently. But also, Crow has heard a couple of things that I did that he wants to work on. So we'll get there. We're slow. I mean, with Evil on Earth, we got luck. That was a fluke.
Yeah.
That came together. That song came together real quick. I was expecting it to be a long process.
Yeah.
But Crow came up with something like these simple notes. And then I played them on my guitar. And then out of that, I worked around what Crow did, writing around that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Crow, he put a lot of input into it as well. So that was incorporated into it. So it was something that him and I, both put our inputs into it, written together. But Crow did the lyrics. That was all Crow.
Right.
And yeah, I thought it was going to be a really long process. I'm like, okay, this is coming together way too easy. I'm like, a breakdown.
Yeah.
We need a breakdown. I'm like, this is where we're gonna have the issue. Well, I'm gonna have a problem. is coming up with this breakdown,
Right.
and I wanted to kind of like pay to a certain point tribute to a couple of different bands, like Typo Negative. Also,
I saw them live once.
Deftones and a couple of other bands.
Yeah.
So I was like thinking about it. I'm like, I mean, really, and not to sound like anything that these bands do is just simple. But when I listen, there are certain spots within certain songs. It's like, well, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Right. And that's awesome because it sounds great.
Right.
So that's what I did. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to just rock on one chord or one string and just move up the fretboard, which up is down. Everything is the opposite. And that's what I did. And I let Crow hear it. And, he was like, oh yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I got my babies back there. Oh my guitars.
Yeah. I enjoyed that song quite a bit, and it's interesting to hear it from your perspective too, because I've talked to Crow about it, and it seems to me that when something like, because for me music is very spiritual, and it seems to me that when something is within you like that, it's aching to get out, and that could be, it was just this movement of things that was a perfect storm, if you will, what's it like working with Crow as somebody to make music with?
Easy. I mean, it was literally easy.
Yeah.
If I didn't like something or he didn't like something, we'd just straight up say like, yeah, I don't know about that, man.
Right.
And we we might come up with a different idea, or we just remove it, whatever it was. I mean, it was literally freaking easy.
Yeah.
There was no bumping heads or anything like that. It was just.
Uh-oh. Something went wrong. Oh no. Something just happened. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what happened. Hold on a second. What's going on? Yeah, okay, so I still have internet. I am plugged in. I am not using Wi-Fi. Oh my goodness. All right, let me switch to a break room quick, and I will get this sorted out. We'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, and there we go. There we go. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It crashed, and then I set it up again. It crashed again. If it happens again, I don't know what is going to happen. If that happens again, I don't feel like fighting it for the rest of the hour and 10 minutes that we have left. But hopefully it doesn't. Everybody get out your crucifixes and ward off those internet demons that are trying to shut us down. So we were talking about how working with Crow was just easy.
Right.
And that's the best kind of person to work with when it comes to music, right? Somebody who's not up your ass and fighting you on everything.
Right. I mean, I've been in bands where it's like I was the only person like trying to write stuff, and nobody else. Like, if I would present, like, it always sucked. Whatever it was, it always sucked, or whatever. And it's like, guys, like, input. How about some input here?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, oh, you know, that's stupid or whatever. And it's like, Jesus. And like the song Selfish, for example. The root of that song came from something I wrote way back when I was a freaking teenager.
Do you ever find that, like, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's interesting to hear you talk about going back and working on songs that have been around for forever in your life, right? Do you ever... Because I think that there's always a point where we look at stuff and say, oh, I could have done that better. I could have done that better. What do you do to not get hung up on that on that kind of thing? Are these are songs that that you've put out? Because to me, when you're recording and putting down songs, it's a moment in time, and it's the people that you're with in that moment in time creating something. Do you find it being, when you go back to redo it, do you find it being less than it was, or do you find that, hey, that was a good thing that I did choose to redo this because I've learned more? I mean, how do you juggle those kinds of challenges?
So,
and also, thank you, Cheryl King, for the 1 month membership. I appreciate you.
So you have to kind of look at it like this, and I've heard a lot of bands say this, and it's absolutely true. You know, what was written in the past is just a snapshot of where you were at.
Yes.
And where you were going at that point in time. I go back and I listen, and I'm like, you know, these weren't, like, some of this stuff wasn't that bad. It's just there wasn't really direction, and there was no other like creative input from anyone else.
So it wasn't bigger than, it didn't get bigger than just you because of that, because people weren't putting their input in. Is that safe to say?
Right. And even when I would suggest, hey, you know, while this is being played, because like being in the studio here, I had this idea. While this is being played, why don't we do this? No, that's stupid. And it's like, oh, like, it was so weird being in a band. When I was a teenager, I was a band called Stepchild, and it's like, no matter what I would do, it was never good enough, but yet nobody would put any kind of thought or creative input in it. They just, like, they wanted to say it was shit. And it's like, well, if you guys think I suck, why the fuck am I here?
Right.
Right. And then
some people just don't know how to be in a band.
Right. So, like the singer, for example, I could play that song better than you. Really? Because I wrote the fucking thing. Let's see you play. Let's see you do it. And he didn't have that. And I'm not saying I'm a badass guitar player, but he lacked a lot of like skill in the way of picking, palm muting, and things like that. And it sounded like a fucking mess. Everything just like ran into one another and things like that. And there were songs that we had written, and we were like, I'm not like, I don't mean anything like, oh, look at me, you know, I'm Mr. Whatever, big shit. But there were songs that were written that we did that were ahead of its time at that point in time. We just didn't realize,
Yeah.
kind of like what was going on there. Eventually, though, I had enough of the bullshit. I was with my kids' mother at the time, and I'm like, there were a lot of other things as well. I'm like, I'm out. I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
No matter what I do here, I can't win. I can't win at all. So I was like, fuck this. I walked away from it. I actually walked away from music for quite some time because it just the experience I was having was not fun. You know, sure, we played, you know, places, whatever, you know, had fun, but at the same time, it was really stressful.
Yeah.
And
maybe becoming stagnant.
Yeah. You know, I'm like, what, like, no matter what I did, you know, it was like I said, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. Some of the things that Crow has heard, besides Selfish, those root back to what I wrote when I was a teenager, which is funny because people say it's kind of like this 90s vibe. It's like, yeah, because the root of that song came out of the 90s.
Right.
Well,
it's cool that you're able to put it across. You know, that you're able to capture that. Sure, yeah. Yeah. And it's awfully refreshing when you work with somebody like Crow, who's also creative and also easy to get along with. Yeah, and it becomes more like, wow, this is probably what I've been missing this whole time.
You know, and I do give Crow a hell of a lot of credit because, like I said, he came up with 3 simple notes.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes that's all it takes. 3 simple notes, and you can work around that and build something from that. And, you know, that's what I did. But also at the same time, Crow's like, hey, you should try this. And you should try, like, this effect. And, you know, we did that. And it was great. Because, I mean, a lot of times, too, people get sidelined. You know, when you're working on a group project, and you get a lot of people involved, sometimes what happens is those people can get sidelined. And then, you know, it's the one person who's getting all that credit and getting all of that attention. But there were other people involved. Right. There were other people who worked hard, some that worked even harder to make certain things happen that just get sidelined. And then, you know, that the one person's like, oh, me, I get all the credit and stuff like that. Yeah, and that happens.
Sure does. Sure
it happens a lot.
Yeah, I've dealt with that. Being in a band, working with the band, and coming up with, you know, the structure. I'm an advocate of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out, and when you know, I mean, I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but I would definitely encourage that with bandmates. And then because of that, these other things start growing, and other members become responsible for parts that are added to, and then you have the guitar player singer guy who's basically the front man and doesn't retain any of the knowledge of how that song became bigger than just him. And that can be frustrating too. But, you know, it's one of those things. It's like, if you can identify it and sometimes bring attention to it, it might help, you know, that person kind of back off a little bit and say, you know what, maybe I wouldn't be anything if I didn't have these other 3 or 4 people with me. But at the same time, you know, I was also working with people who were a lot younger than me at the time as well. And young people tend to, you know, egos.
Right.
Well, we've been at it for 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and do our break and let you do what I've been doing this whole time, right in front of you. I'm sure that can be trigger. I apologize. I'm just very, very loose. When we come back, we will take questions and call-ins, and we'll go ahead and get the link up at the top if you want to call in. We'll cover that here when we come back from our break. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back. We are back.
All right.
Right, so it is questions and call-ins time. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to pin the link at the top here for everybody. For anybody who wants to do a call-in, you will click on that link and you'll be sent backstage. And we will basically, you'll be placed into a queue. But you'll be given a maximum of 60 seconds to ask your question, and you can choose to either sit in the stream while Joe answers, or you can leave the stage right after you ask the question and listen to his answer in the stream. If you choose to stay on while he answers, I ask that you promptly leave the stage after he has answered, just so that way we can answer as many questions as possible, and that way I can get the next caller on, so that way no one is waiting for too long.
You sir are a brave man for throwing that link out there.
Well, you know, I know. I think right now we're small enough, and you know that I can get away with it. Hopefully, maybe at some point in the future, I might be able to figure out a way to get my mods to help me screen the calls and stuff like that to kind of, you know, make it a little bit more safe. We'll figure it out when that time gets here. Yeah, so again, you can just click on that link up above. Or if you just want to ask the question in chat, go right ahead. You just put a Q in front of it. That helps the question stand out a bit more. And to get things going, I guess I'll come up with a question. When the video for the Evil Unearthed, there is some brilliant B-roll. I really love your B-roll. You and Matt Bitton both, but there's something about, I mean, of course, having a great camera helps, but the camera will only see what you are envisioning. And it seems that you have a very creative insight as to what will be on the screen and how to deliver what it is that you're trying to put across. The idea for Evil Unearthed, where did that stem from?
So we had an idea of what we wanted to do, and we were going to, while we were filming at the Monroe House, we had this storyline set up for it. And what we wanted to do was, you know, here's a group of like people going to a house, investigators going to a house, and then Helena, Matt's wife, well, that's when they first met. But anyways, they're now married.
Right.
But to find the mask, kind of buried, she sees a glow, and she picks it up, and it kind of goes into like the mask just kind of like taking her over. And you know, we had like this whole really cool idea thing, and you know, Matt will say, well, we didn't have enough time. No, we had plenty of time to do all this stuff. We really did. There was a lot of time wasted, actually. And so then I had to just figure it out. You know, we took B-roll footage at the house, so I incorporated some of that into the video. Then having Crow, you know, in his mask, you know, him recording, you know, stuff
right
with him with the mask. And even in that video, it's funny because I'm actually wearing the mask pretending to be Crow.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that you can do that.
So we had a really cool idea. It didn't happen the way we wanted to. So with the B-roll, I love shooting B-roll.
Yeah, it shows.
But there are times where I get bored of it, and then I get kind of sloppy. And it's not necessarily having a nice camera; it's knowing how to use. Like some of that stuff came from my phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just knowing, having an eye and really pulling it off. And yeah, like years ago, my B-roll footage, I'll say it was awesome. Didn't matter what kind of camera I was using, but man, lately past couple of years I've been lacking, and it may have something to do with some of it may have something to do with being burned out
Sure.
and things like that. But I did the best I could with that. Crow had input as well on that video. I can't take all of the credit for that. And we just threw it out there. Like I said, I did the best I could with what we had.
Yeah, that's part of the fun, though. I think what you're talking about there, like you have these ideas and then things don't work out, right? They almost always run into that, no matter what the project is.
Never fails.
Yeah, and that forces you to do the best with what you have, which that struggle itself, I feel, makes the final product more artistic, more meaningful, and especially when it comes out really good, and you say that your B-roll is lacking. To me, somebody who is consuming what you're putting out, I can't tell. It seems to me that that's not to say that your great B-roll footage isn't good. It just, to me, what I'm putting across is, or trying to put across, is that even on your bad days, you seem to be doing pretty well when with putting out B-roll.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I really mean it. Dawn had a question for you. The first question of the night. What is your favorite thing about investigating with me? With Dawn.
Well, besides her being there with me, we're on the same page when we investigate, and that goes a long way. And seeing people react to that, like I've had people say, you guys are like our favorite couple, investigators and things like that.
That's sweet.
We're on the same page. Although I gotta really get Dawn to get more comfortable with the camera. But so there's not this thing where Dawn wants to do something and I'm like, oh, that's stupid, I don't want to, and then kind of ignore what's going on. I'm not big into like the Estes method, but Dawn wanted to try it out, and I'm not, look, if you want to try it out, that's fine. She's well aware of the audible pareidolia stuff, doing the Estes method. I mean, like maybe twice or something like that. Maybe something interesting came out, but who knows? It could have just been a coincidence or whatever. Again, with like rods, I'm not big on rods. Dawn wanted to use them. Try it. Go for it.
Like dowsing rods?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
you're being open-minded. You're being open to it, and she also sounds like a critical thinker. And she's what? Is she new to this? Is that accurate? She's new to this?
No, she's not new. But she's more used to doing the events kind of thing where people are using all kinds of devices and all these other things. And it's funny because when these events happen, they're using like REM pods and all, all the other little things, even apps. But then me going, well, here's the problem with those things. And then Dawn's kind of like, well, here I thought, we were experiencing something and we probably really weren't. It's kind of funny. So I'm like, yeah, I kind of ruined the paranormal for you, don't I? Kind of thing. But so Dawn, Dawn's more used to that. But Dawn learns real quick with the way I investigate, how I when I say control, I don't mean like this is what we're gonna do and this is how we're blah blah. I don't mean that. What I mean is try to maintain control of for example, somebody wants to use a spirit box. Well, I like to throw a spirit box. I've been meaning to do this quite some time ago, but here recently, people have seen this, where I've taken the spirit box and just throw it in a Faraday bag. Cuts out all of cuts out all the radio stations that come through. Let's see what happens. Let's control this. Let's take out the one factor.
Right.
Where everyone seems to think
you're controlling the experiment to yield results that may be more interesting, is what you mean by that. By control, gotcha.
Right. Dawn also, sees that if something happens, I'm not like, oh, that was paranormal. Oh, yay! No, we try to figure it out. We really we try to figure that out. So when it comes to that, Dawn and I were on the same page. People can see that. I'm not telling Dawn how to investigate or anything like that. I don't tell anybody how to investigate. If somebody investigates differently and likes to use certain things, I'm going to let them. I've had somebody say, "Oh, I thought you didn't use, whatever it was," and it's in that video. It's like, well, first off, that's not mine. And if somebody's coming to investigate, I'm not going to tell them how they need to investigate. I want them to do their own thing. Right. And especially when they pay. If somebody has paid part of the bill to go and investigate with us, I am definitely not going to tell them they can't use something.
Right.
You look at like Dawson. Dawson likes to use certain things that I'm just like, yeah, I don't use it, and here's why. Dawson understands that, but we still let Dawson do what he wants to do. But yeah, I we're on the same page. People can see that, and it works. It works well. That was a long fucking answer. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And I see that she says she's 20 years in, which that's phenomenal. So, and I didn't mean, because I don't really know much about Dawn, and I'm still learning about you. That's why I'm asking these questions, and that's why they're asking these questions too, because there are those of us that just don't know. And it seems, so you guys have been together X amount of time. She's still new to the way that you're doing things. Is that's like you're like
she's pretty much used to it now.
She's used to it now. Yeah. Fair enough. Michael Burkeen asks, have you ever considered doing a forest paranormal exploration, or would you?
Dawn and I kind of did something like that at the Yura Shrine. They have a bamboo forest, kind of. It's not very big. It's more of a garden, I guess you could say.
Gotcha.
But we kind of did that. We did do Goatman's Bridge, and that
how was that?
There's just too many people there.
Yeah.
And honestly, the whole story with Goatman's Bridge is basically what they call a campfire story.
Gotcha.
But
urban legend.
Yeah. And it's really a place where a lot of teenagers hang out, or people go fishing. They walk the trail, things like that. It was very hard for us to really investigate. We were going to go, I believe we were going to go back at night. I'm just like the mosquitoes. And then again, there's going to be people there recording and doing their thing. It was like, we were there. We seen it, whatever. But, as long as they don't get eaten alive, it would be cool to do a forest. The thing is that what forest do we do? Because I don't know very many haunted forests.
Yeah. The only one that comes to mind is it Mount Fuji, where the suicide forest is. That's in Japan. So, Rob Linklater, this a funnier one. Is Joe any good at drawing designs on a T-shirt?
Hell no.
If he
No,
does.
I am not.
Yeah, we play. We have game night, community game night here, and that's a fun thing we do. You don't even have to be good. You don't have to be good. So whether you're good or not, if you ever want to join in with us on that, that'd be cool. Somebody else asked one here. Giselle Labonte, are there plans to get married in a haunted location, and are we invited via live? I'll understand if you say no.
So Dawn knows where she wants to get married at.
Okay.
It's a place up in Ohio, but I think what we'll end up doing is I'm not 100% sure. We'll probably get married elsewhere and then use that place as like, hey, if you want to come and party, whatever, we'll probably do something like that. Yeah, I mean, if we, or not if, but when, we do the whole I do's and stuff like that, I'll probably just go ahead and live stream that.
Yeah. Well, that'd be cool. Very cool. Yeah. Again, if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask them. Now is your chance. Getting married is a big deal, and it's, a lot of people now kind of do what you're saying when it comes to like, oh, we'll go get married and then we'll have the formal thing for everybody to come and hang out or whatever. Some people even almost get married again, to do their I do's in front of everybody. So that's nothing, I think, out of line. And I would be wonderful to see you guys say your I do's.
Dawn has, and I have, we've like done the whole wedding thing and all that. That's, and it's great. It's, whatever. But at the same time, that's an awful lot of money.
Right.
A lot of stress and a lot of other things that are attached to it. So it's like,
you already you already love each other. You're already in it. You're already basically, a team as it is. Yes, putting on a show is what that is. It, essentially, it's one thing when you're younger or when you've done it before. If you're coming back and doing it again, you already know what it means and what you want out of the relationship. And sometimes, well, most times, I don't think there's any reason to spend all that money and have all that added stress. It should be a very stress-free thing, and it's like being with the people you love should not be stressful. That's why you're having to come out and have a party and all that stuff. Being with them.
And if you think about it too, that's a huge risk because you could end up getting a divorce. So you spend all this crazy money, all this planning, all this stress for, a year later, 2 years, or beyond that, we could end up in a divorce.
Right.
And that shit's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, obviously not saying any of that's going to happen, but it's good to have forward insight because you've been there before. And you know what mistakes you've made and what mistakes not to make again, just in case.
Maybe. I'm not perfect by no means.
Sure. Giselle Labonte again, have you learned from working with so many different people this year? Or I think maybe what have you learned is what she's asking. Kenny Biddle to Dawson, all different styles and beliefs. What have you learned from these people?
Jeez.
Oh, man.
I'll probably sound like a dick. Not a hell of a lot. I understand, like with Kenny, where he comes from, his train of thoughts, with skeptics and stuff like that. I think probably the biggest takeaway is like, and nothing bad with Dawson, but it doesn't pertain to like Dawson. I'm just like throwing his name out there because fuck Dawson. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, we love Dawson.
Yeah. He might be on next week, actually.
How misguided a lot of investigators are, because again, they're seeing what these other bigger channels are doing, and they're mimicking that, they're copying that, and then they get invested into the tech side of things with like the REM pods and music boxes and apps and stuff like that. It's it's really scary to see that this younger generation is trying to take shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
Dawson has, well, hopefully Dawson, investigating with us, has learned and has at least taken something with him when he goes on these other investigations. So whatever Dawson does on his own when it comes to investigating, that's what he does. I just don't want to see, and not really him, but anybody getting into the paranormal and seeing what's going on out there in regards to the channel, fall into that trap of all I need is an app, a camera, and something that makes noise, and there we go. And when it goes off, it's a ghost. No, Dawson doesn't think literally like that, but it's kind of scary to a certain extent to see, to really get into the mind of the younger investigators.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend our time, when we investigate. Again, I try to put controls on certain things. We're just using video cameras. We're using digital recorders. We're grinding. We are literally grinding. And to think that an app, when a word pops up, is communication, is just mind, what?
Mm-hmm.
But stop taking shortcuts. You cannot prove in any way, shape, or form, because if a device goes off or a word comes out, that you are communicating with something. We need to be able to validate, and that's another thing that I've noticed for a long time. They're not validating anything.
Yeah.
As Kenny Biddle would put it, they're anomaly hunting. That's all they're doing. And Kenny's absolutely correct on that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, though, was watching and being there, even though I ended up getting food poisoning and shit like that, but investigating with Dawson, Josh from Paranormal Seekers. He's a great dude. A very quiet guy, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Josh, be more vocal. Be louder. Kenny Biddle, the side-eye guy, and, of course, Dawn. You're seeing people who believe differently, investigate differently, skeptics, a freaking debunker, coming together and working together.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
Sure
it is
is.
literally, because we did it. We literally did it. But I think, I think people can learn from that, actually.
Sure.
That
Yeah, I hope
this
so.
is possible.
Yeah,
So
there needs to be more of that.
Hopefully people learn from that experience
Right.
rather than us learning or me learning. And I don't mean to sound like a know-it-all or anything like that. But I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you obviously have experience, so I mean, and you also know what you don't know, which I think that's
Right.
an important tool to have.
And that's the other thing too. I can tell somebody what I think, but I don't know. And if I really don't know, I'll be like, fuck, I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, best answer. If you don't know, I don't know. Instead of just
Right.
trying to sound smart. Teshi is asking, what is your take on that ghost tube seer? And he's the first one to call in on the show, and he was going to do it tonight, but apparently his tiger suit is packed away for a convention, or otherwise he would have videoed it in. But yeah, what's your take on the ghost tube seer? I don't even know what that is.
So is it? I know they have ghost tube, and it's like the SLS camera, and then there's this other one where comes up with like a picture or something like that.
Oh,
something.
yes. Okay, I know what you're talking about. It's
so,
AI
yeah,
generated.
I don't know if it's, I can't say if it's AI generated or not. My son and I, we used, just for shits and giggles, used the GhostTube app. And I mean, like every time I turned around, there was a stick figure. But every time. Again, I look at that and no, I think it's Amy's Cribs who made those, if I'm not mistaken. No offense to them at all. And at least they're open and honest about how the app works. To me, it's like, it's a shortcut. You can't validate anything. Even if, because I believe words come out of the GhostTube app as well.
Okay.
So it'll pop up words. Even if you get something that has something to do with the location you're at, that could just be a coincidence. Coincidences happen more often than we think anyways. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
And that's no offense to them or anything like that. And the other one, I know they have that other one where it like does like a picture or something like that. Dawn actually tried that out at Anderson Hotel, and well, it was funny because it did come up with a picture that looked like there was a little restaurant underneath, and then over that looks like apartments or whatever. I think it was probably just a coincidence, but with Anderson Hotel, there is a restaurant on the street, and then up above it are the apartments. So I mean, that was kind of cool, but again, and and I'm not knocking Amy's Crypt or anything like that. That they've been honest about how it works, and they tell people, hey, these are the things to kind of just watch out for, the false positives and things like that.
That's good. That's good when they're being crystal clear about stuff like that. I was under the impression that it was I must have misunderstood what the app is, because there's an app now it puts a picture up. And is that what you're talking about? Is that the app? It like puts up this picture, like you were saying. It kind of showed a restaurant and then the apartments above it. Right. Is this an image that's being shown on the picture or on the phone or whatever? Yeah,
it'll pull up, it'll generate an image on the phone.
Okay.
And maybe it is using AI.
Okay.
As she says, it is the AI generated image creator. Okay. So maybe it is using AI.
Okay.
We just used it Dawn tried it out that one night. And a lot of it was just like some of the images that were coming out of it just made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Right.
I was just that one image. I was like, well, that's kind of interesting.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Sam Borgman is asking, what's your opinion on the latest Ghost Hunter seasons in terms of fakery?
Well, I know Ghost Hunters right now, they don't have anything being played. I know Jason has the YouTube channel, him and his buddy, and I believe his son actually was on the latest one. A couple of things with television, because I've experienced this. Editing is magical, right? And things can be taken out of context.
Sure.
When I did that little thingy there with Kindred Spirits, they interviewed me, whatever. There were things taken out of context. And I was like doing everything I could to be like, I know they're going to attempt to take things out of context. I need to watch what I say and all this other stuff. It didn't matter. It just didn't matter. They get some damn good editors. So I don't I don't believe that ghost hunters were necessarily faking things. There's just that whole thing with Grant. I do believe that there was something up there with Grant, in regards to the live show that they did, or the Halloween special thing that they did.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know people who had them come to their home or their location, and they're like, "No, I mean it was legit." You know, some of the stuff, you know, that like was said or whatever was kind of like taken out of context, but it wasn't like horrific or anything like that. And they're like, "No, I mean they came and like this is what happened." I think it's so easy to, especially for television shows, for people to just yell fake.
Right.
And they don't, like a lot of people, they don't know the process that is done with making a television show. First off, it looked like, and it didn't even matter what show it was really. There are exceptions, but Ghost Hunters was brought up. It looked like they were there for one night, but they were there for days. So they're at a location for quite a few days. Yeah, they will likely come up with something. They will capture something. Whereas we're at a location anywhere from 4 to 13 hours, maybe even 14 hours. That's it. That's all we have. And we're going to get far less.
Sure.
Because we're only there for a certain amount of time. Now, spending 3 days at a location or a week at a location, that's different. Yeah, we likely are going to get something interesting. I don't think, I don't think, especially now, I don't think that it's fake or anything like that. I really don't. But again, it's a TV show. Things can get edited in such a way. And people can spot certain things because of editing and think, well, that's fake.
Right.
Look at, this here or whatever. But at the same time too, I've literally talked to Jason on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I do talk to Jason.
I think that's why the question
not
was
every day,
asked.
not all the time.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's good. Look, questioning anybody. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Even with Kindred Spirits, even though they took what I said out of context, I was there the entire time they were filming. They were there for a couple of days. I didn't notice anything that they did that was fake or anything like that, because what they experienced is basically what a lot of people have experienced. And I purposely left a couple of things out when they're asking me about what goes on there. Like I purposely left some things out, and they experienced it. In fact, I don't know why, but there was a full-bodied apparition captured, and they never showed it in the episode, and it was caught on their DVR system.
Huh.
And they never showed it.
Wow.
There's a lot of things that get cut out of television shows, like really cool captures and things like that. And they also, when they go to locations, not just Kindred Spirits, but like Ghost Hunters, they may go film a location because it may be something going on, like there is something paranormal going on because of its nature and maybe what's going on with that person. They don't put it out there, and it could be like the really cool captures, crazy captures. They don't put it out there or that episode out there because morals.
Michael Burkeen with another question. What was the scariest thing that you have heard or seen? He says that his was finding an undiscovered Native American, I believe that's a burial mound, and hearing a Bigfoot hollering. Now that would be something.
The scariest thing
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
Heard or seen. Excuse me.
Well, it did scare the shit out of me. I'll say that. Again, at Hales, I went to go walk into a room, and there was a huge fucking shadow like thing there, and it took off, and I literally jumped out of my shoes. Well, one of my shoes. I was like, "Holy shit!" And I jumped back, and my foot went out of my shoe. I'm like, "Oh my god, did I seriously just see that?"
Wow.
Let's see. Seeing a Monroe house, seeing what I was by myself. So I'll just make this a quick story. By myself at the Monroe house. Eric was with me, but he left. I went to sleep. 30 or 45 minutes later, I woke up. There was a banging sound. I thought it was Eric. Maybe he forgot something. And I realized it was coming up over my head. Problem is, part of the house that I was at, there was no upstairs. It was just the roof. So I'm like, is Eddie here? And I'm like, no, there's no way. Why would Eddie come in here and start doing work on the house? Especially knowing that somebody's there. I went upstairs, checked it out, nothing. Took a piss, came back out, and I caught this smell of what is it? A cucumber melon. And I'm like, the hell? Now I'm dead ass tired, whatever, and I walk and I get to a certain point where I can look down the short hall, and it looked like somebody that I know walked into the room, but I only seen the back half of the body that went into the room, and I just stood there. I'm like, did I seriously just fucking see that? So I'm like, well, if I go in there, I have no gear, and if something happens, there's no proof.
Right.
So I ran downstairs to go grab some gear, and I was greeted with a nasty smell, made me sick, went outside, puked, whatever. That was scary because I knew I was being targeted. Just to make a long story short, yeah.
Okay.
It was scary only because I knew I was being targeted.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's the cucumber melon smell. When you said cucumber, immediately I think copperheads. If you smell or you smell cucumber, you think copperheads, but you actually saw something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I know that this is kind of coming completely out of left field. You've heard of Bobby Mackey's. Ever had the experience? Because it's not that far from where you are, or at least it's within. You can get there in less than a day. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a few hours away.
But you've never been. Would you like to go? I mean, they're carrying it down now, but what are your thoughts about that place?
So this is funny. I've actually driven past Bobby Mackey's quite a few times and didn't even realize it.
Okay.
Dawn and I had went to Bobby Mackey's. We didn't investigate it. We was just on the way, and we're driving. I'm like, I know where I'm at. I've driven this way before, and then here we are, Bobby Mackey's. I'm like, I have literally driven past this place many times, and never ever noticed.
Wow.
So we went there. It was closed, and we just checked it out. Took some pictures, whatever, and that was that. I've never investigated it. I know the place is in some horrific shape.
Yeah.
And it's about to go bye-bye.
Yeah. Well, that building is. I know that. I'm pretty sure Bobby's going to have another venue somewhere. I think that's the plan. But yeah, I know they're shutting that
temporary venue, and then once they tear it down, they'll start rebuilding again. But it'll be a metal building.
Okay. So they're going to build on the same site.
Yeah. For now, they got a temporary place. Last I knew, and then they're going to go ahead and construct where it was at before.
Yeah.
I always thought Bobby Mackey's was out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like somewhere down some dirt fucking road in the middle of nowhere. No, it's in the shitty part of town, just outside the city. Like I was like, you buy a bunch of industrial stuff. I'm like, this is probably why I never noticed it was there to begin with.
Right.
Because I was thinking it'd be elsewhere.
Yeah. Waverly Hills, you have been there.
Yep.
I've been there too. I just took the tour. Were you able to have a proper investigation there?
So the first time I went, it was an event kind of thing, and that was fun. Nothing happened. It was funny though, because I did walk down the. I did it twice, down the death tunnel and back up. I don't ever want to do that again because that sucked. But we knew there was plastic at the end of the tunnel, so there was plastic, and a bunch of people, they were in the death tunnel and they're up top, and they're looking and things like that. You could see the plastic. But they were interpreting as, oh my God, it's a lady in a dress. Oh, look, they're thinking they're seeing an apparition. And I'm like, yeah, I hate to be that guy, but that's plastic down there. That's what you guys are seeing.
Yeah.
Because they're looking like through their cameras and stuff, trying to shine light down there. And then everybody realized that's all it was. Everybody was bummed.
Sure.
So that was the first time that I had went. I might maybe have captured an EVP of a kid. Not 100% sure. I went back a second time. Not as many people, and just honestly nothing.
Yeah.
Just nothing.
Yeah. When I was there on the tour, the only thing that I found interesting, I mean, it was a cool place. I go there and you go in this big room, and the woman that took my money was the woman that owned the place. So I'd seen her on TV before.
Tina.
Yeah. And that it was like, oh, that's I recognize you. And then seeing the place, in person, seeing where the storage of the bodies was, and going down the death chute and being on these floors, it was really, that was fun. But the tour guide, excuse me, it was actually the same guy that showed Zach Bagans around when they went there. He, I think it was the third floor was supposed to be the most active, maybe, or the fourth floor. I can't remember which, but it was not the roof of the building. It was like the floor underneath of that. He had this woman come out of the group, because it was a tour group, and he said walk down the hallway. And as she was walking, I'm seeing what appears to be legs sort of appearing next to her and walking in step with her. They were shadow legs, which, if that makes sense, not shadows projected on the wall. It was literally walking right next to her. Now, of course, you have nothing but the moonlight, and that was, I believe, it was there was quite a bit of moonlight. That's the only thing that was lighting, other than their flashlights here and there. But of course, he turned the flashlights off. Now I'm seeing this, and I'm, that's interesting. And then I didn't say anything about it, but the tour guide says, "Do you see those legs walking next to her?" And everyone said yes. Now that was the most interesting thing. Now what that was, I don't know. I do know that I've had several walks at night with nothing but the moonlight to light my path, and I have yet to see shadow legs walking next to somebody. But that's about it for me at Waverly Hills. I'd like to go there again, but last I looked, and that's been more than 10 years ago, it was $1,000 for a night there, and I don't have that just laying around.
Yeah, it's $1,200. I'd love to go there, but man, it costs money.
Yeah.
Money that I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
So it was funny because the first time I went there, the second time I went there, I really didn't interact with Tina too much because, it was a big crowd of people, whatever.
Sure.
The second time I went there was funny because I had walked in and I said, "Hey, Tina," and she's like, "Hey, Joe," and I'm like, "She knows who I am."
That's cool.
Okay.
Right. That's
and
interesting.
then we talked, hugged.
Nice. So she's aware of your work. Yeah, that's cool. Unexpected and cool. Teshi's asking, and of course, if you feel comfortable, what sort of things have you done that seem to have kicked up the activity at a place you're investigating?
It seems like, because like I said earlier, if nothing's really going on, sometimes I'll just go ahead and like just talk shit, throw some negativity out there. Um, Dawn and I, we were at the Monroe house, and we were actually making fun. We were making fun of Omar, you know, and I don't know if Omar's gonna watch this or not. Don't worry, Omar. We just did it because we wanted to, you know, something negative, whatever. Plus, we were kind of like joking on the fact that there were dudes upstairs, Omar and somebody else upstairs, like, oh my god, it's scary or whatever. Dawn was up there by herself, and like she was calm, like nothing happened. But so we were kind of joking about that, and just trying to throw that negativity out there, just like I said, just to see what would happen. And it sounded like somebody was coming into the house, like not coming into the house. It sounded like somebody was walking towards us. Like the pissed off dad walk, like coming to your bedroom to like beat your ass, kind of walk. So I thought it was Eddie, and I'm like thinking to myself, did we piss Eddie off? Like, well, what the hell happened? But there was nobody. I was literally expecting to see Eddie. And then Dawn and I, we walked out of the room, went to see if anybody was inside the house. I heard nobody inside the house.
Wow.
So I mean that was really cool. Was it a ghost or whatever? I have no idea. All I know is it sounded like somebody was walking up to us with authority, and nobody was there. Just us.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard something walking through my house before, but that has a distinct sound. You know, and I mean, like you said, was it a ghost or wasn't it? Who knows? But I mean, things go pop, but it's different when it's moving through the room. You know, that seems to be a bit more unexplained rather than just possibly wind tapping against the house somehow or making something happen, and it seems to be in one spot rather than it moving through. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything we haven't covered. Is there anything that you personally would like to bring attention to in your endeavors right now? Where can people find you?
Might just go to my YouTube channel. Don't bother me on Facebook. Dang it! Right. I hate Facebook. I want to get rid of Facebook, but no, just my channel. And I mean, as far as anything going on, I mean, the end of September, we have that whole Warren Paracon thing going on. We'll be speaking at that both days.
And that's September 27th through the 30th, correct?
I think so. Or September 26th through I think the 28th. I'll have to look. Okay. See, I don't even keep up with anything that I got going on.
I can look right now because I know it's a weekend.
Yeah, it's the last weekend of September.
Okay, so yeah, if it starts on a Thursday, it's the 26th. If it starts on a Friday, it's the 27th.
Yeah, so it starts it starts on that Friday.
Okay.
And Friday is actually for the VIP. So you get to like hang out with all the celebrities and stuff like that. I'm not calling us celebrities. We are not freaking celebrities, but we get to hang out with the celebrities too, I guess.
Right.
And then the whole event starts Saturday and goes to Sunday.
Okay. And your YouTube channel is Entity 7 Paranormal, isn't that correct?
Yep. Yeah. Joe Vitale. Just look up Entity 7 Paranormal.
What kinds of things do you do on your YouTube channel?
Oh, my channel's a train wreck, man. I throw investigations out there, live streams. I mean that's really it. It's kind of all over the place kind of thing. Yeah, Johnny. Let's see. I have premieres coming, but they don't start until August. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for October. We'll get that figured out. There may be a really, really cool collab this year. We'll see what happens. I mean that's really it.
Okay.
I believe Donna's going to end up having surgery though in August, but
well, I'm sure everything will go well for her. I'll definitely keep her in my thoughts and prayers for sure. Right, so Entity 7 Paranormal on YouTube, and of course the Warren's Paracon, the 26th through that Sunday, which is, the 26th, 27th through the 30th. Gosh darn it, sorry, I'm getting hung up here. Dates are getting mixed together. It doesn't look like we have any more questions, so I can go ahead and say good evening to you, unless there's anything else that you want to touch on. If there's anything that we didn't cover that you want to cover, everything's good. All right, my friend.
No, just when next time Matt goes live publicly, just tell him he sucks.
Okay.
Everybody, I'm teasing.
Well, the one person snuck in one last question. When are you and Dawn planning on getting married?
It'll be next year.
Okay. Very good.
He
heard that. Matt heard that, he says.
Yeah, make sure when Matt goes live, everyone tells him he sucks. And then go to Kenny Biddle's channel and just tell him he needs to be more open-minded.
All right. Well, my friend, I appreciate you coming on here with me tonight. It's been very insightful and good questions, good answers. I appreciate you. Thank you to the chat for partaking and asking the questions and coming here and supporting. We both appreciate you very much. And until next time, actually, there's one more thing. After I shut this live down, I will promptly thereafter do another live. It is my Tuesday hangout. That way, if anybody wants to listen to just the interview, they can listen to just the interview and not have to sit through, a 6-hour video or something like that. So, again, thank you, Joe. It has been awesome. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
We will see you on the next Into the Night.